Hey everyone, and welcome back to Excel Nerds. Today's video is on the most common mistakes in Microsoft Excel. These are some of the most common things I've seen from people that have little to no experience in Excel, and just correcting these bad habits right now will serve you for a long time to come. So let's jump right in. The first mistake I see a lot is dealing with unstructured data and doing too many things in too many places because you don't know how to make a pivot table or structure your data in a way where you can summarize it easily. If I look at the data I have right here, there's views for 3 different months and then for each of 5 different videos. I can come over here, type in the sum function, and then select the data. Do the same for February and then for March. And although we get the right answer, we can't scale this in any meaningful way. We can't make a pivot table out of this. We can't, present this to someone because it's so scattered and all over the place. I can make a quick change to this data and make it 100 times more useful. So I've added a few columns here to show how I would structure this data if I were to fix the data we're looking at right here. Instead of having separate columns for every month, we add one column and just insert the month into that column, and that becomes what's called a dimension. One of the biggest things to learn early on is what a dimension is versus a measure. The measures are things that you can actually measure, like views, revenue, things like that. The dimensions are the higher level things and the buckets that you might categorize something in, like a month, what type of content you're dealing with, what region you're in, what city you're in. They're the things that categorize data so that it makes sense to the people looking at it. So in our case, we have 5 videos, the views for each of those videos, and the month. Let me delete this, change the title, and watch how quickly we can create a pivot table. So just with a few clicks of the mouse, we've created a pivot table that summarizes data for January, February, and March for each of the 5 videos, totals them up, and gives us a nice little graphic to look at. The second most common thing I see in Excel for beginner users is not knowing how to navigate around a spreadsheet using keyboard shortcuts. If we look over here at this much larger set of data, we have 3,000 rows here. The first instinct would be to scroll down if I wanted to see the bottom of the data set, but there's no need to do that. Using Control plus an arrow key, you can go all the way to the end of the data set. So Control down, I go straight to the end, Control up, go to the top, Control right, Control left, and so on. If you want to go to a very specific cell in your data set, you can type it right here. So let's say A100, enter, and I'm there. If I want to select a big area, I can just hold the Shift key and do Control plus an arrow key. Control Shift down, I selected the entire area. Control Shift right, I select an entire row. If you want to select the entire block, it's just Control Shift right and then down. That selects your entire data set. In addition to navigating around data sets a lot faster, you can even use this when you're making formulas to speed up the process. So instead of me typing in sum and then trying to select this entire column, which would take forever, I can escape out of that, type sum, and just click D2, and I click Control Shift down, and I've selected the entire column. Press enter, done. So I should say that Control plus an arrow key will go all the way to the end of a data set that it can find. If there's a gap in the data somewhere, it will stop at that point. So if I delete this, go up to the top, and then press Control down, I stop at that data point. So it's going to go to the furthest data point it can find. The last thing I'll talk about in this video is understanding how to filter information properly. I'll make a longer video on the advanced features of filtering in Excel, but the most common mistake I see with filtering is filtering only one column at a time. Excel is very intuitive as far as what it considers part of a set of data and what it doesn't. So if I click filter here, it automatically highlights the first row, each cell in the first row, because it assumes that's the header that we're working with in this set of data, and it would be correct. But look what happens when I select month only. Say you wanted to select that and then sort it in a descending order. If I click Z to A, I get this error. So what's happening is that if you select only that column and choose to filter that in descending order, we have January, February, and March in column E. March will be sent to the top, but the rest of the data in the other 4 columns will become jumbled because it will all of a sudden be out of order with where it was in the first place. I'm going to cancel this. The proper way to filter your data is simply to select any cell in row 1, click filter, and you start working. Or you can select the entire data set if you feel more comfortable doing that, and it will be filtered in the same way. But be careful not to select only one column and filter that, because you could run into a lot of problems. Another place this can happen is Google Sheets, which is Google's version of Microsoft Excel that lives online. The problem with that is you don't actually get that error that Microsoft Excel will give you. If you select one column and then try to sort it, it will sort it, but it will jumble up your data as I just described. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time on Excel Nerds.